mantras of our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says there is no method in this yoga except to concentrate, preferably in the heart, and call the presence and power of the Divine Mother to take up the being and by the workings of her force transform the consciousness. With always our love and blessings, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Words of our Divine Mother taken from the collective works of our Divine Mother, Question and Answers, Volume 3, page 183, on the Dhammapada, conjugate verses, question and answers by our Divine Mother to control, to have a mental control. Question. In all things, the primordial element is mind. Mind predominates. Everything proceeds from mind. For this, our Divine Mother says, naturally, this concerns the physical life. There is no question of the universe. Question, sweet Mother. If a man speaks or acts with an evil mind, suffering follows him as the wheel follows the hoof of the bullock that pulls the cart. For this, our Divine Mother says, that is to say, ordinary human life such as it is in the present world is ruled by the mind. Therefore, the most important thing is to control one's mind. So we shall follow a graded or a conjugate discipline in order to develop and control our mind. There are 4 moments which are usually consecutive, but which in the end may be simultaneous. To observe one's thought is the first, to watch over one's thought is the second, to control one's thought is the third, and to master one's thought is the fourth. Let me repeat. Our Divine Mother says there are 4 moments which are usually consecutive, but which in the end may be simultaneous. To observe one's thought is the first, to watch over one's thoughts is the second, to control one's thoughts is the third, and to master one's thought is the fourth. Our Divine Mother says to observe, to watch over, to control, to master. All that to get rid of an evil mind, for we are told that the man who acts or speaks with an evil mind is followed by a suffering as closely as the wheel follows the hoof of a bullock that plows or draws the cart. This is our first meditation, says our Divine Mother. Question, sweet Mother. He has insulted me. He has beaten me. He has humiliated me. He has robbed me. Those who nourish thoughts such as these never appease their hatred. For this, our Divine Mother says, bad thoughts bring about suffering and good thoughts bring about happiness. Now, it gives examples of what bad thoughts are and tells us how to avoid suffering. Here is the first example. I repeat, he has insulted me, he has beaten me, he has humiliated me, he has robbed me, and it adds, those who nourish thoughts such as these never appease their hatred. Our Divine Mother says, we have begun our mental discipline basing ourselves on the successive stages of mental development. And we have seen that this discipline consists of four consecutive moments, which we have described in this way, as you surely remember: to observe, to watch over, to control, and to master. And in the course of the last lesson, we have learned to separate ourselves from our thoughts so as to be able to observe them as an attentive speaker. Our Divine Mother says today we have to learn how to watch over these thoughts. First, you look at them, then you watch over them. Learn to look at them as enlightened judge so that you may distinguish between the good and the bad, between the thoughts that are useful and that are harmful, between constructive thoughts that lead to victory and defeatist thought which turns us away from it. It is this power of discernment that we must acquire now. That will be the subject of our meditation tonight. Question, sweet mother. He has insulted me, he has humiliated me, he has robbed me, he has beaten me. Those who do not nourish thoughts such as these foster no hatred. For this, our Divine Mother says, this is the counterpart of what we read the other day. But note that this concerns only thoughts that generate resentment. It is because rancor, along with jealousy, is one of the most widespread causes of human misery. But to avoid having rancor, a large and generous heart is certainly the best means, but that is not within the reach of all. Controlling one's thought may be of more general use. Thought control is the third step of our mental discipline. Once the enlightened judge of our consciousness has distinguished between useful and harmful thoughts, the inner guard will come and allow to pass only approved thoughts, strictly refusing admission to all undesirable elements. Our Divine Mother says with a commanding gesture, the guard will refuse entry to every bad thought and push it back as far as possible. It is this moment of admission and refusal that we call thought control. It is this moment of admission and refusal that we call it thought control, and this will be the subject of our meditation today, says our Divine Mother. Next subtopic, vigilance, from page 202. Our Divine Mother says vigilance is the way that leads to immortality or nirvana. Negligence is the way that leads to death. Those who are vigilant do not die. Those who are negligent are dead already. Our Divine Mother says in these texts, the word nirvana is not used in the sense of annihilation, but in the sense of an eternal existence in opposition to life and death, as we know them in the present earthly existence, and which are contrary to each other. Life contrary to death, death contrary to life. It is not that life which is spoken of, but the eternal existence which is beyond life and death, the true existence. Our Divine Mother says vigilance means to be awake, to be on one's guard, to be sincere, never to be taken by surprise. When you want to do sadhana, at each moment of your life, there is a choice to be taken between taking a step that leads to the goal and falling asleep, or sometimes even going backwards, telling yourself later on, not immediately, sitting down on the way. Our Divine Mother says to be vigilant is not merely to resist what pulls you downward, but above all, to be alert in order not to lose any opportunity to progress, any opportunity to overcome a weakness, to resist a temptation, any opportunity to learn something, to correct something, to master something. Our Divine Mother says, if you are vigilant, you can do in a few days what would otherwise take years. If you are vigilant, you change each circumstance of your life, each action, each moment into an occasion of coming nearer the goal. Our Divine Mother says there are two kinds of vigilance, active and passive. There is a vigilance that gives you a warning if you are about to make a mistake, if you are making a wrong choice, if you are being weak or allowing yourself to be tempted. And there is the active vigilance which seeks an opportunity to progress, seeks to utilize every circumstance to advance more quickly. Our Divine Mother says there is a difference between preventing yourself from falling and advancing more quickly, and both are absolutely necessary. He who is not vigilant is already dead. He has lost contact with the true purpose of existence and of life. So the hours, circumstances, life pass in vain, bringing nothing, and you awake from your somnolence in a hole from which it is difficult to escape. Next words taken from the collective works of our Divine Mother, Book 14, Chapter 20, topic Faith and the Divine Grace. Our Divine Mother says faith is spontaneous knowledge in the psychic. Faith is a certitude which is not necessarily based on experience and knowledge. Faith is the confidence in the divine and the unshakable certitude of the divine's victory. Our Divine Mother says it is good to have this unshakable faith. It makes your path easier and shorter. True faith does not depend on circumstances. Faith in spiritual power must not depend on circumstances. A faith based on material proof is not faith, it's a bargaining. They who have faith will go through. It is indispensable to keep the faith and the will to conquer. Our Divine Mother says, faith, you flame up and triumph. Faith is the surest guide in the darkest days. In an unshakable faith lies all hope. The night always is full of promises, and we must face it with full confidence and faith. Our Divine Mother says at every moment, all the unforeseen, the unexpected, the unknown is before us. And what happens to us depends mostly on the intensity and purity of our faith. Our Divine Mother says, if we had a truly living faith, an absolute certitude of the almighty power of the Divine, His manifestation could be so evident that the whole earth would be transformed by it. Our Divine Mother says, keep an immutable faith. Truth will triumph. Have faith in the Divine and go deep inside yourself. My help is always with you. Have faith and go on. Our best help is faith. The Divine is all merciful. Our Divine Mother says, there is a great power in the simple confidence of a child. It is with the confidence of a child that our heart implores the Divine. The best way of meeting difficulties is a quiet and calm confidence in the grace. Keep faith and confidence and remain cheerful. Be steady and confident. Our Divine Mother says, everybody is imperfect and has to progress. So keep firm and confident, and you will become what you have to be and achieve what you have to do. You must have entire confidence in the victory of the Divine, and this general victory will include in itself the personal victory of all who will have remained faithful and confident. We must march on with quiet certitude that what has to be done will be done. It is not noisy, but it is sure. Our Divine Mother says the Supreme has sent His grace into the world to save it. It is the divine grace that must be prayed for if justice were to manifest. Very few would be those who would stand in front of it. The divine grace alone has the power to intervene and change the course of the universal justice. The great work of the avatar is to manifest the divine grace upon earth. Our Divine Mother says to be a disciple of the avatar is to become an instrument of the divine grace. The Divine Mother is the great dispensatrix through identity of the divine grace with the perfect knowledge through identity of the absolute mechanism of universal justice. And through her mediation, each moment of sincere and confident aspiration towards the divine calls down in response the intervention of the grace. Our Divine Mother says, who can stand before thee, Lord, and say in all sincerity, I never made a mistake? How many times in a day we commit faults against thy work, and always thy grace comes to efface them? Without the intervention of thy grace, who would not oftentimes have come under the merciless blade of the law of universal justice? Our Divine Mother says, each one here represents an impossibility to be solved, but as for thy divine grace, all is possible. Thy work will be, and in the detail as in the whole, the accomplishment of all those impossibilities transformed into divine realizations. Divine grace, thy goodness is infinite. We bow before thee in gratitude. Our Divine Mother says, the divine grace cannot be explained through words and mental formulas. It is only the divine grace that can give peace, happiness, power, light, knowledge, beatitude, and love in their essence and their truth. All the children of the one and the same Mother are worthy of the divine grace. Her love is is equally spread over all of them, but to each one she gives according to his nature and receptivity. Our Divine Mother says, let us give ourselves without reserve to the Divine, so best shall we receive the Divine grace. Call of the Divine grace is not noisy but persistent, very perceptible to those who know how to listen. Whenever there is sincerity and goodwill, the divine help is also there. Be ever one pointed in your surrender and sincere in your aspiration, and you will constantly feel the presence of the divine's help and guidance. Our Divine Mother says, with the divine's help, nothing is impossible. For nobody would sadhana be possible without the divine's help, but the help is always there. It is you who must keep your receptivity living. The divine help is much vaster than what any human being is able to receive. Those who will be able to become receptive by the mastery of the psychic upon the ego will know what this help is and will have the full benefit of it. Everyone is given a chance and the help is there, but for each the benefit is proportionate to his sincerity. Have a steady faith, continue to have full faith in the divine's grace. All depends on the intensity of the faith and the firmness of the right attitude, will, and action, and all will be all right. Our Divine Mother says the grace is always with you. The grace of the divine is always with you. Concentrate in your heart with a silent mind, and you are sure to receive the guidance and the help you aspire for.